Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Today we're going to do what we always do on Saturday and check out a Patreon picks. One of my Patreons gives me a track to check out, and I do it. No exceptions, no questions asked. Check it out. It doesn't even have to be metal, although I'm pretty sure this week is metal. Today's Patreon picks comes at us from Al Gilardi, or maybe Gilardi. I don't know if that's a soft or hard G. He says he's going to go with Shogun by Trivium. Asking if an 11-minute song is too much. Dude, we've had like 20-minute songs and I didn't complain, so I think you're good with the 11. Alright then, let's get this set up. So we got Trivium in here. I don't think we've done Trivium on the channel yet. So, again, these Patreon picks, man. Although I think Trivium has been requested at least. I'm pretty sure we have a couple of requests. But yeah, another one we haven't done yet. So, let's see what Trivium's bringing to the table. I like that little double time thing they had there. Kind of changing up the riff a little bit. Very interesting drum fill. Pulled that in, reined the time back a little bit, slowed it down, and brought it right back. Does anybody else think he sounds like James? James Hetfield's? Yeah. Lots of playing around with conceptions here. Yeah. I really wish we could have let that breathe a little bit instead of going right back into a verse, but it's fine. I really like the harmony going on in the guitars there. And this back and forth between the screaming and then the cleans, and the way that the music goes along with that and just kind of swells into the chorus after this. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Another side of their little softer aspect. Seeing how they can run with some melody. A lot of this has been rhythmically riff-based.
Now quickening softly, it's painstaking.
Very cool chord choice here. The guitar didn't really have some interesting chord progression in it, but the notes he's choosing add a lot of character to this section. Yeah. Nice little bass movement down there. Not a lot, just to kind of close up that 4/8 block section there. Rhythmic cohesion throughout the band here. Alright, a little bit of a shift there. Wild shift. I did not see this coming at all. Again with the rhythmic cohesion between the guitars and the vocalist. Lots of energy. Even the solo aside, with the shred there, just a lot of energy going into this outro. Like hitting a wall.
I cannot wait for it all to come crashing down.
Yeah, a great way to finish this off. Just bring everything together. Interesting syncopation there on the cymbals. Although it's rhythmically in line with the guitars, so definitely their strong point is emphasis through layered syncopation. The fade out, fade out. I don't think it will ever not just take all of. Hearing a fade out just drains me. It really does. I think that's it though. Yep. We got 15 seconds left. All right. Yeah, hearing a fade out will always remove all of the enthusiasm I have that came from the song. Just like there's nothing worse to me than to fade out after doing a great job at writing a song. Like you wrote so many other great parts. Why can't we just have one more part? Write 4 or 8 more bars and finish a song. Okay, if you want to fade out on a note, fade out on a note, but don't fade out on a riff, man. It just I don't know. I don't put down musical choices. I really try not to that often. I think the fade out is the only thing I've really just have not said anything positive about on this channel. I'm sure there is a use for it. I'm sure there is a time and I'm like, yeah, no other way to finish that song. The fade out was the way to go. It fits with the themes of that song. You know, I'm sure there's a time when I will say that, but I have not come across it in 32 years where I've said, yes, the fade out was the best way to do that. And I don't think it was the best way to do this either. I think the song needed a proper send off, and it just didn't get it. However, I do want to say, Al, thank you for suggesting this song. I don't know what the crowd would have suggested if this had been a normally, requested track, requested band, and I went off, what was requested most in the comments. But I think this song did a very good job at showing off a lot of the different facets of Trivium. I don't know if they have more than these. I don't know which ones they're more dominant at, but we saw some hard rock. We saw some regular rock. We saw some, some softer sections. We saw some metal. I saw some really nice cleans in a higher range. I heard his baritone. I think he's a baritone. It's something we don't actually see much, I think, in this channel. A lot of our singers, when they do cleans, they're a little higher up in the range. Which actually works for me. I don't really like baritone singers. I don't like bass singers. It's just a personal preference. I've never really listened to them where they fit other than opera. For whatever reason, my brain, opera and low voices work. Rock, metal, to me, it just doesn't work. I prefer a higher range with this kind of music. But that's just a personal opinion thing. There's nothing wrong with baritone voices. Obviously, the guy absolutely nailed it, singing in his lower register in some of these sections, and it provides a nice warmth in the chorus when he did go up in range, and still has that warm lower end to it. So there's definitely some. It's not like baritone's a bad thing. It's just not my preferred vocal range. But yeah, so like we don't see that very often on the channel though. So it's very interesting to have him do that here. I think the only other time we had that was um I don't remember the name of the band, but it was like a goth band. And I remember saying that he wasn't really singing. He was just kind of like talking a little quietly, like I don't remember what the band was called. But yeah, I think that's the only other time we've had a lower voice singer on the channel. So yeah, that's cool to have that. Um, but we just saw all sorts of sides to Trivium here. And like I said, I think it's a really good introduction to the band, assuming um, that we've seen it all, that this is all their stuff, or regardless of which one they tend to favor in their other tracks, we get to see everything that they're capable of. Um, However, I also noticed a lot of I don't want to say crutches, but tendencies that the band has. I do want to, give them some praise on the technicality of, jumping between all these things and writing an 11-minute song with five-ish different parts to it, and wildly different parts. Like we have just hardcore. I've already listed this off. We got the super fast speed metal and shredding. We've got some more ballad stuff. There's some nice multi-string picking in the softer sections. We got power chords. We got different vocal types. So yeah, and there's definitely a lot of skill that goes into pulling off something like this, even though it might not be as technical as some of the proggier stuff we've seen. There's still not everybody's going to be able to write a song of this length and magnitude of change and have it all tie in the way it does at the end. I think the end, we'll get to that, but the end was a perfect way, before the fade out, was a perfect way to wrap this up. Um, I also want to just kind of give everybody a little bit of praise on a technical level. The singer was all over the place. Like I said, he obviously has his home range, which is a little bit lower, but he has no problem going, in a half octave higher for the chorus. Um, and then the guitarist, he's got the shred and the chords and the finger picking, like he's all over the place. The drummer, he's for the most part, it was just pretty steady drumming. He had a couple really nice fills, and he's got the chops to play fast for an extended period of time. So like nobody in here is a slouch. uh the bass was drowned out, unfortunately. I did hear a couple of runs to close out melodic phrasings. Um so I believe the bassist is probably pretty good. I mean, at least he's keeping up with the band, but it just wasn't very high up in the mix. Um, so I didn't hear it that often, unfortunately. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed the song. It's a pretty standard song. There's not a lot to talk about on the musical level, as far as like theory goes or anything. I think the most interesting part would probably be the ballad section. I had mentioned that the guitar's chord progression wasn't anything outside of the norm, but the notes that the singer was singing on top of it created chords with some very interesting qualities to them. And they ended up resolving places that I was not expecting given the bass chords under it. So, yeah, really cool stuff there. To me, there was some classical, some like Renaissance inspiration in some of those resolutions. Um, so, yeah, really, really cool stuff there. But I gotta address the elephant in the room. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Also, rhythmic syncopation permeating throughout the band and just kind of creating a cohesive idea of pretty much orchestral stingers. except in a very metal environment. So in orchestral stingers, you'll have quite a few instruments. You've probably heard it in fight scenes or high action scenes in movies and TV shows when you'll have violins and violas and maybe even some tubas and some basses and some tubas, contrabasses, trumpets. Usually string and brass, just because they have the brightest tones and they can really cut through. But it'll be like dun 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 dun, and these really sharp like stings. They're called stingers for a reason. It's these sharp notes that just kind of pierce through. And I get that same sort of concept pretty much in any of the non-ballad sections. Well, no, not yeah. We saw it in the intro, not so much in the chorus. We saw it in the fast breakdown. We saw it in the heavier outro. Pretty much anytime they get really heavy, they bring these out where the rhythmic idea in the guitars and the drums and even sometimes the screams are mirrored in the other instruments. You can typically hear it when the guitars will be playing usually a pedal note, and then every once in a while they'll play a short. Pretty sure they're chords, and it'll just hit the chord and then come back down, and then maybe a beat later they'll hit another note, and then half a beat later they'll hit another note, and they have the pedal tone in between to kind of fill the space. The drummer usually uses the snare at the same time that the guitarist is hitting these chords. And there was one time, I think, where these all lined up with the rhythm that the singer was screaming his words. And that was during I think it was right before or right after the guitar solo, the fast shreddy one. It was in that same section of the really heavy part. And you can actually see this a lot throughout the song, especially where the guitar and the drums, they'll emphasize the same beats of the bar. And this is, to me, I think it's one of the cornerstones of at least the writing of this song. Like I said, I don't know. I haven't heard any of the other songs, so I'm kind of basing their musical style off of one track. But they did it a lot in this track. I kind of assume it would be part of their DNA just because it's so prevalent here. Although I guess it could just be a one-off thing where they're like, hey, I just thought about doing this. Let's do it. But to me, it's a little prevalent. I would not be surprised to hear it in more of their tracks. Plus, it's a little unique. It's not like we haven't heard this type of rhythmic syncopation, like synergizing, meshing the multiple different instruments to kind of have these same hits. We've heard that a few times before, but I don't think as often in a song. It's definitely a part of this. It's a key part of the songwriting for this song, at least. So yeah, that's something I definitely noticed and I appreciate. Like I said, it's basically the metal equivalent of the orchestral stinger. So pretty cool that they can incorporate that and still give it the metal edge with the pedal tone, basically filling up the space around it. Because metal doesn't do a really good job of giving space when you're going heavy and you're getting these harder sections. Having space between your notes just isn't a thing. It's about this relentlessness. So they found a way to do the stings while also having like the metalness to it, where they're not giving you too much room to breathe. So yeah, really cool thing they did there. I gotta address the elephant in the room though, and that is their riff-based approach to everything. Even the solo was sort of riff based. It makes the song to me feel a little segmented when I can hear the loops so clearly. And it's not necessarily an issue with Trivium alone. It's an issue with um, bands that kind of veer more towards rock and hard rock. Um, but there's the loops are just, they're short, and even when you have a melodic line that is a little longer, like the verse guitar bit, it does technically move, but the core riff doesn't change. it just gets transposed up a half step and then up a half step and then up a half step, and then it comes back down to the root. The rhythm, the concept of the riff doesn't change. So even though there is movement in the line, there's not movement in the idea. So in practice, it's still the same thing. So we end up having a 1 bar riff where the melodic idea is just moving that riff around the scale. We can even see this in the guitar solo, where he starts shredding, and every bar he takes the same rhythmic idea with the same note spacings, and just moves it up the neck of the guitar. That's not to say the entire solo was like that, but I believe it was the last half or last quarter of the solo did do that. So even part of the solo is riff based. And it just permeates through the entire song, where it just feels like this disjointed idea of 1 and 2 bar phrases repeated on end ad nauseum. So while I do appreciate all the separate sections and the dynamic changes that they have across the 6-ish sections that they have in the song, the repetition does get a little old to me. To I also see it's more of a symptom of the fact that the emphasis tends to be on the vocalist. I mentioned after the first chorus, well, the first time the chorus came around, that I really wanted the song to breathe a little bit. We had like 2 bars, maybe 4 bars tops, and then we were right back into the second verse. And there wasn't really a chance for the song to really breathe, which is kind of a good thing, because at least in this specific section, it would have just been more repetition. I don't know that we would have actually seen the song evolve if we had given some space between the chorus and the second verse. It would have just been more of the same ideas given time to be repeated, basically padding. And I think I would rather have a more concise song, even if it has to emphasize on lyrics, rather than to pad it out with riffs and ideas that are basically just being repeated to fill time. But like I said, it's more of a symptom that the repetition is, just because the song is more focused on the lyrics and the narrative in the words rather than the narrative in the music. The music's basically there to provide atmosphere and like context. No, atmosphere to the words, and to emphasize what's going on in the story. When the storyteller's saying something sad, the music's sad. When the storyteller's being angry, the music's angry. That kind of thing. It's there to emphasize the words, not to embellish upon or to expand upon the words. And again, that's more of just a thing of being rock or hard rock, that sort of mentality. We don't really see a lot of the musical expression and using the instruments to continue the story of the words that often in that genre. Yeah, I think that's really my only criticism for this song, is that it veers too hard into mainstream music composition, and I think the instruments could have more of a time to add to the song's narrative instead of just being a backdrop to the song's narrative. I do want to close this out with the ending, though. The ending, other than that abrupt stop from like the speed metal into the ballad, like that came out of nowhere. If I knew what was going on in the lyrics, it might make sense. But it was just such an abrupt stop. It really caught me off guard. I think it could have meaning, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it fits within the narrative of the song. But then we had the ballad, and then the ballad opened up into the ending. Into the chorus with a little bit of the metal, the harder rock side coming in with it as well, and it really encapsulated everything that they've brought up to the point and delivered it into a, we did this, we did this, we did this, now let's mix the ingredients and go out with a bang. We've introduced a few themes. Let's show you all the themes at the same time. And it is a perfect way to end a song like this that goes through so many sections. It's just a perfect marriage of all of the genres they went through and all the playing styles. So, yeah, other than the fade out, that was just such a fantastic writing thing. Fantastic composition there at the end, where they really encapsulated everything they delivered so far and repackaged it into a single concept. I think Trivium has a very bright future ahead of them, which is kind of dumb to say because they're not a small band by any means, from what I understand. I mean, that's kind of dumb. I guess I should take that back because it makes me sound stupid. Yeah, they're a really strong band. They have some really good compositional chops. I don't know if they do tend to veer towards the 3 to 4 minute stuff like a lot of rock does, or if more of their stuff is on this epic level, but I appreciate this. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of aspects of the song, even if the whole song didn't hit me. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what else they can do. And I really like to see something with a little bit more melodic input in the guitars or the bass. Not necessarily do I think they need it. They're a large band. What is one guy's input gonna mean to them? They've obviously made it, but I would just like to see a little bit more melodic writing. I think that's what I would like, because a lot of the other sections they show strength in a lot of ideas. But I mean, obviously people like this. Who am I to say they should change? I don't know. You guys hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought of Trivium. If there's any other tracks I should check out from them, you guys can let me know if I'm just totally wrong here. Maybe this is like the most banger track you've ever heard and you absolutely love it. Shout out to Al for recommending this. Like I said, it's a fantastic, I would almost say, assuming that most of their music falls into one of these sections, this is a really good cross piece. Dang, I don't know why I can't think of that word. Anyways, this is a very good introduction to them, since it shows off so many sides of them and then shows how they can also bring it together into a cohesive idea. So, yeah, while you're down there in the comments, you can like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All three of those things help out the channel greatly. You can check out my Twitter or my Patreon. Those links are in the description. For only $1, you can join the Patreon. You can vote on the themes of the weeks and the bands that we check out each week, as well as tell me what song you want to check out, and we'll get to that in a Patreon picks. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. 2 videos, I think, I'm going to do of my own personal interests, like I do on most Sundays. That'll be 5 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until then, you guys have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos, and stay safe out there.